You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430 podcast. Whoa. Episode 223. If you're watching, it's just Craig and I. Philly's driving home from work, and we're doing the show a little bit earlier tonight. There's a hockey game on tonight, the Leafs against the Senators. I need to be there to watch that game in my chair. Very superstitious, that whole bit. So just Craig and I tonight. And before we get going too far, I do want to take a chance to thank our sponsors, the OG sponsor, Real Geese, and then First Light came on, and then Ducklander Calls and Bobby Hayes, and I can't thank the three of those brands enough for believing in what we're doing. So thank you. And of course, the voice of the Union 0430 podcast, Captain Jeff Coates from Pit Boss Waterfowl, who drunk called me the other night, and you have no idea, Jeff, how much I appreciate your drunk call. Even though I think the drunk call came from your phone, but I think it may have been Paulie that instigated that. But nonetheless, I appreciate it, and thanks for it. So, Craig, buddy, this is like take two, because we already did an intro and I don't know, 5-10 minutes of talking.
Yeah, we were good 5-6 minutes in.
Yeah, and then everything went to shit, and now we're starting over. So now we got to try and I think we were kind of on a little bit of a roll there on what we were chatting about too, and now, well,
yeah, I already forgot we were talking about Jeff and the drunk call, and then I don't even remember what we started talking about after that.
Yeah, I don't know either, but either way, like I said to you last week, and I mentioned it to you and Phil, I want to, not that I want to get away from having guests on, because I really do enjoy having guests on. We've made some really good friends with guests we've had on in the past. But for the next little bit, I think I want to do some with just you, Philly, and I, and maybe Mark if he's got some time and he jumps on. But I just wanted to do some with just us and just get on and shoot the shit, tell some funny stories. You know, I just want to, just have a normal show. And that's a weird word to use, say normal, but sometimes with the guests, and I think the majority of the guests that come on the show, they are salt of the earth, down to earth, great people. But when they come on the show, I feel it's our job to highlight their brand and make their time worthwhile to them for taking their time out of their evening and coming hanging out with us, right? And sometimes when I get focusing on that, I don't get a chance to actually ask the person, you know, just down to earth questions or whatever.
Like
it's always
standard kind of regular chat.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I think most of the guests that we have on, that's how they like it. They like if it's just simple and you don't have to talk too much about the brand, but
yeah. That's one thing I've always noticed. It's like a lot of times, like you'll try bringing them back to the product, and it's like a couple of sentences, and they're just back to talking stories and that, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see that. Like these guys have the opportunity to come on and talk about the product some more, and usually it's minimal. I mean, we're just shooting
like
the shit.
they do. Yeah, like they'll just do a quick, well, this is what we do, and this is what we are, and you know, they give a broad synopsis of what the brand is, but then you know they just want to.
Well, there's been a few where they kind of turned it on us too, right? Like, who was it? Brooke the one time, like he turned it on us, asked us about our goals for the season or our trips and our plans and that. And a few of them have done that. Yeah,
they have. I don't know. So I'm always worried that when they come on, they want to talk about their brand and they don't want to hear about what we've got on the go or whatever. So, but nonetheless, the plan for the next couple weeks, at least, I think it'll be just us for a little bit and gets us a chance to chat and kind of do what the show was originally planned to do, which was really just us. And because like, even right back to the beginning, when we decided we were going to do this, we never really ever brought up the fact that, hey, we can bring guests on and chat. It was always just supposed to be us, right? Yeah. And then Dave Palmer, I would say this was probably the catalyst to it, was when Dave Palmer got Jeff Coates to come on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think, and I'll go back. I can check all of the episodes, and I don't know if Jeff was the very first guest, but I think he was certainly the catalyst to, listen, we should do more guests.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I would have thought maybe like First Light or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I got to look back. But now that I'm thinking that, I think we are really close. If we haven't already passed it, which we probably did pass it, and I never even thought about it. But I think we've passed the anniversary.
I thought you said it was early May or something, wasn't it?
Was it May? Philly told me when it was, and I can't. That's July. That's June. Yeah, it is. It's in May. Okay. So it's in May. I thought it was in April.
We got time.
Yeah. No, it's the 11th of May.
Whew. Order the cake now.
Yeah. Yeah. I was serious because I thought I might have forgotten about it. And I probably would have if it wouldn't for Phil a few weeks ago that he brought it up, because I didn't even, 5 years, I didn't even think that we were, 5 years seems like a long time, and it doesn't seem like it's been that long that the show's been going, but apparently it is.
That's a long haul for sure.
And then I did want to take a chance, and you've been a part of this podcast too, but Brian Hallbly and the Migration Waterfowl podcast, they just celebrated their 1 year mark. So 52 episodes, and he had said that was his goal, right? He wanted to put out an episode a week and stay consistent, and he did, and congratulations, Brian. Because not that it's a hard job to do or a hard thing to do. It's just, you got to be consistent, right? Like once a week, you got to have somebody to talk to, and you've got to try and make it entertaining. So, anybody that's doing it, my hat goes off to you, because I do know it's not the most stressful job that you're ever going to have, but it's still something that you got to do, and another thing on your plate. And I can
especially when it's just a little bit of like a side hustle type thing, right? Because like you've got to have some sort of incentive to get on, because it could be real easy. Come whatever night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, when you normally record, be like, I've already had enough stuff to do today. And especially for him, like you said, he's got to get a guest on because he doesn't have other guys joining him all the time, right? So
that's right.
So he's got to get somebody lined up and get all that ready, and then all the editing and stuff afterwards. So he's working full time too. So to keep up that consistency.
And if you listen to his show, Trish just text me, can you help me with the groceries? No, I cannot. I am recording a show. But if you listen to Brian's show, if you listen to Brian's show, he'll record with a guest, then he sort of kind of gives when the episode comes out. So he's got which I'm assuming he does, he's got to write out a pretty much a summary of what the show is. And he talks about that summary, and then he gets into the show. So, unlike what we do, we really just wing it every week.
Just hit record and hope for the best.
Just hit record. If we've got a guest, then we've got a guest. But if it's me and you and Phil and Mark or whoever, if it's just us, we hit record and let her go from there. Yeah. And whatever comes out of our mouth and whatever happens. We don't, we're not writing scripts or anything like that. So I think that's a little bit easier as opposed to, the guys that, they've got to write all their stuff out and make sure that it's prepared for the episode. It's just a little bit more work than what we do, right?
He's got the ads throughout and the different, the music that plays and all that too. So quite a bit to it. So I saw his post today because he puts his stuff out on Thursdays. So today he released the 1 year episode.
With, Jeff Coates,
yeah, that was pretty cool to see. So happy for him. Anyways, going well.
It's actually funny because there's a lady, I can't remember where she's from. She's from down in the States, anyways. Ashley Barda is. Oh yes, and I've been following her social media now for a few months. So I think it was last week or maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I had sent her a message. And I'm like, hey, Ashley, thanks for following all this stuff. I'd love to have you come on the show sometime. And she was like, oh my God, like, amazing. Thank you for, and we were just going on. And then I seen she's going to be a guest, or she was a guest on Brian's show. And I was like, Brian got her before I got her.
Last week's episode with him.
Yeah. I haven't listened. I listened to the one today with Jeff Coates, but I didn't listen to the one with Ashley. But it's just funny, like, the personalities that are out there within this duck hunting waterfowl world. You can see that there a lot of them just, they just bounce from podcast to podcast to podcast. So, for them, we're talking about the work of the people putting on the podcast, but think of the guests, because some of them, like, there's some fellas that just legitimately, they'll do one because they believe in a brand or their
some
friends,
sort of connection
and
to
they
them.
just do the one and then that's it. But then there's some that is just, hey, listen, if you want to, chat with me, I'm going to chat with you. So that takes even more time.
Yeah.
And they're getting, really, what are they getting out of it other than the fact they get to sit down and chat, right? So I don't know. It's pretty cool. It's a small community, small group, even though we're spread across, Canada and the United States. But the names are the names. Like, most people recognize the names. There's the odd time there's someone that'll pop up and you're like, oh, I don't know who this is, but.
Well, especially like you could just be talking about anybody and you throw out a first name and it's just some sort of hunting celebrity out of the States and you just throw out a name and everybody knows who you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of different people.
Yeah. Not that I think you can do it, but I bet you if you looked at some of the original, remember back in the day when the DVDs and the VHS and stuff like that? I bet you if you took that generation of fellas like Sean Stahl and Tim Grounds and Fred Zink and all of those guys, I bet you could do that. What they call it, that 6 degrees of separation. I bet you could do, like, you could throw out 2 names of any one of them of that generation of hunter and someone that was, educated, that followed those guys around and stuff like that. You could probably tie 2 people together just with the names, because it was such a small. Now with social media, obviously it's way bigger and there's a ton of people now that have a platform that they can become known and followed. But back in the day, I bet you could, Fred Zink, Sean Stahl, Tim Grounds, all those guys, Scott Theron, Rusty Heron, all those guys, man, I bet you could put two of those that are living on opposite ends of the country and someone could piece it together how they connect.
But even now, with social media, there's a lot more people out there, but there's still always kind of that core group of people. Right, there's those key people that everybody knows, and then there's all the filler and stuff. But there's always going to be that kind of that big cohort in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. And it just if you follow the social media and you follow the fellas that are traveling and doing all the the live duck and goose calling competitions and the big time decoy carvers and the call makers and those guys. If you're following those guys who I don't want to say they're in the background, but they're not on my feed anyways. They're not the fellas that are always pushing videos and reels and posts. Like, they seem like they're in the real head dudes, the big time names. They seem like they're just a pace behind. And then you got yahoos like me that are trying to post every day to have people
waving flags.
Yeah, wave the flag and, hey, look at me, I'm this guy over here. Meanwhile, the true, I don't know, I'm sure someone's probably fucking seething as I'm saying this, but the big names, I feel they're just a pace behind. They're just, you guys do your social media and pop up your reels and stuff like that. I'm good where I am. I'll
be over here doing real stuff.
Yeah, I'll be doing, like sort of kind of like, like I'm still gonna be making calls. I'm still gonna be carving decoys. I'm still traveling from Saskatchewan to Louisiana every year and, just doing my thing. And I don't know, it makes you sometimes feel like you're, a little bit redundant, right? Like I'm not not an expert by no means, and you've hunted with me, so you know it. But do you think that, and this is an honest to God question for you, but do you think that most of us, like the fellas that are doing these podcasts and putting out all this social media stuff, and I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush, but do you think that, like, are we posers? Like that's like, and
I think there's a huge variation too, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I just, we talk about the podcast, right? And guests. So you're doing a show and you're constantly trying to find guests. So you're always trying to get the big names on, right? And listen, I ask a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that don't return an email. There's a lot of people that'll say, I don't really do that. I've sort of kind of gotten away from that sort of stuff. I've got a team of people, especially for guys that have started a brand right from scratch, and then now it's exploded into this big thing. A lot of the times they'll be like, yeah, I've got people that do that. I took enough time away from my family when I was building the brand. I'm enjoying life as a family, with the family now, right? So
I think, like, as far as like the poser question, it all depends on what you're trying to put out there, right? Like, and that's where I think it's kind of cool, like, to take a little break from guests and just get back to just shooting the shit and it just being, that's what it is, right? Because I'm sure a lot of your followers, and especially the people early on, were buddies or people that you're connected to in some way or in some roundabout way through one of the other guys on the show. So it's like those people, they're just, I'm sure most of them are still just kind of watching along just to see that kind of, just that banter, like that same banter they'd get if we were hanging out in a hotel lobby after an event or something, right? And so I think it's just, that's one thing I notice with people is just what are they doing versus what are they trying to put out there? Like, if they're just trying to just be big and splashy all the time without really having any substance, and like we've talked about before, people see through that because there's a ton of guys online, whether it be social media or YouTube and that, where everybody's making stuff, but you're also not watching everybody because you watch it once or twice and you realize there's no substance, or they do kind of come across as poserish. And so it's just, everybody's got to figure out what void they're trying to fill, or what little niche that they're trying to bring to the market.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, no, that's all good points. I think for me, and this brand and this podcast, I think for me, hey, listen, I wish I was filthy rich. I wish there was $100,000 coming into my bank account every month because of this show, and it's not. And I would love it if I was filthy rich because of this, but I'm not. So I am content. I'm happy to come on the show. I get to hang out with you, Phil, Merck. I've made some great friends because of this podcast who we chat often. We don't get to, some of us we haven't actually got to do a face-to-face with, but I'm content with this. My question about the poser was, if somebody listened to last week's episode, and that was the first episode they ever listened to, without knowing anything about our history, the show, the brand, anything like that, would they be like, this guy's just a poser? I think that's what my concern is that if somebody is just tuning in for the very first time, I try to stay humble and I try to have some humility. Does that come through clear on the show? I guess is really what I'm trying to do.
I think so. And I think, like, to use that kind of episode as an example, I think that's the perfect episode. Those are the perfect episodes for somebody to come in the first time, listen, and not get that impression where you're trying to turn yourself into something. Like, those are the ones that people are going to listen. It's like, this is just a fun conversation. Yeah. I think with those kind of conversations, you don't have to be concerned about somebody thinking you're putting out some sort of just persona. Right.
So I do have to say, I put that, the clip of where we were asking Phil about what animal he liked, right? So I put that up on Facebook or up on Instagram, ton of views. A lot of people watched it. And then I done it as a short for YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Some of the friggin' responses were hilarious. Like, Jay Hillier had a great response.
I saw that.
Like, very, very thought out, very methodical in his approach on how he would combat these animals. But then on YouTube, man, there was fellas that I'd fight a vole And I'm like, God. And then there was one fella that said, I'd fight a polar bear. You didn't tell me how old the polar bear was. Hello, baby polar bear. It was just, there's some spider monkeys and polar bears and voles. And one fella said a goose. He said, I'd fight a goose because he started it. And I just, like, some of the comments were just awesome, right? And
I saw Jay's on Instagram, and I didn't realize he had posted on YouTube. I got to go look at those comments.
I think it was just on Instagram that he posted. Yeah. But it was good. I'm pretty sure it was just on.
Yeah, Jay's, I saw his on Instagram. Some of the others, if people are commenting on YouTube and that, I didn't see those, but I'll have to go back and look at them.
Yeah.
Because what few comments I saw from people were pretty good.
Yeah. 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 It was good. It was a good laugh. And then, so that was the other thing, like with this new program, right? With Riverside, I think so what it does, one of the things it does on the back end is that it will create these clips for you that you could put on social media, right? So, i.e. the fighting the animal. And then there was the one that we talked about with pollution and stuff like that, right? So that's all generated from the program on the back end. But I think the program takes text out. So it'll cut out a portion. And I'll tell you why I think that, because there was a clip made talking about when we went to the Wild for Hope. And I started the story with, to our American listeners, THC is legal up in Canada. And then I went on to tell my story. Well, when I looked at that clip, and I was going to post that, but that wasn't there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like, that's fucking weird. You know what I mean? Like, and then I don't know, because the last thing I need is a bunch of people down in the States that think I'm up here breaking the law, smoking dope or whatever. You know what I mean? So it
seems like a pretty AI heavy program.
Yeah, a very AI heavy program. So, which is, convenient, but scary at the same time. At some of this stuff that's
next thing you know, you'll see a whole episode go out that we didn't even do. It's just AI's generating everything.
Dude, are you seeing some of these political things? And we're not going to go down a political rabbit hole, but have you seen some of these things where they're taking, like, they're matching the voices of political?
No, I haven't seen that.
But I had one sent to me the other day. And it was from the Canadian election, the debate, and they had manipulated all of their voices. You would not have, the only way you know that it's fake is because some of the stuff that was said. Like, it was so ridiculous that nobody would have ever, I'll send it to you. It was pretty crazy how they could, had it not been ridiculous things being said, you'd probably be like, oh, wow, I can't believe he said that. But it was so out there, you were like,
well, especially if somebody didn't watch it too. Yeah. Right? Like I didn't watch the debate, so it's like anything I see, it's like, well, I guess that's what happened. Well, come on, don't be that guy in the podcast.
Can't believe that. It's so embarrassing.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday or today, and they had this guest on, and like the first 10 minutes, the guy's phone's just going off the whole time, and the host didn't say anything, but eventually, I don't know if they messaged him or something, because then it finally stopped. But it's like, turn it off.
Yeah. Turn off your phone. Rookie mistake. Hey, I wanted to get this. I want to talk on this subject, and I want you to run on this a little bit, mostly because I'm going to go get some ice to pour myself another rum and coke. But I want you to run on this and add some context to it. So I had done a video yesterday, and I had sort of kind of asked, what do you view, what resonates to you as the waterfowler's lifestyle? And that could be, and that's a very, very open-ended question, to the fact that it could be gear, it could be geographical, it could be anything. It's just, as a duck hunter, what is it that you think personifies the waterfowl lifestyle? And that is really a question that I don't know if there's a solid answer. So I'm going to let you run with it while I get the ice, and then I'll come back.
Sounds good. So Damien and I were talking about this a little bit before we hit record the first time, and then everything went to shit and we had to start over. But we were talking about how it's hard to kind of come up with an answer or even a set of answers, because my experience in waterfowling is that it's such a varied group. So, guys like myself getting out a handful of times, not the hardcore guys, but trying to put as much effort into it as you can when you have that time. But then you got these other guys out there that are super hardcore out there as much as they can and just beating the shit out of all their gear. So everybody's so different. It's hard to kind of pinpoint even a handful of things that are that would kind of lead somebody to think of the waterfowl brand and lifestyle. If Damien posted, a few people are talking like wax canvas. When they think of waterfowl, they think wax canvas. For me, I just think the first thing that comes to my mind for waterfowl lifestyle is just durability, right? Like we put everything through absolute shit. So, I just think of good gear, durable, and that sort of thing. But also too, as Damien was just talking, one thing I thought is like, something that kind of personifies waterfowl lifestyle. First thing, like one of the things that popped in my head is like slippers, something warm that when you come back to the house or back to the camp, you're cozy, right? Like you're just something comfortable, something that's going to warm you up, take that chill off. So yeah, I was just saying, Damien, as you're away, just that when we were talking earlier, just how there's such a variety in the waterfowl community of just a variety of people and levels of dedication to waterfowl hunting, that it's kind of hard to figure out what a waterfowl lifestyle means to people, because everybody's so different in their pursuits, right?
Yeah, I think, I threw it out when I was sort of leading you into this, when I said geographical, because, what you and I do in Ontario is completely different than anybody that's in the prairie pothole region or
saltwater or something,
or somebody in Louisiana and Arkansas. And then you've got, the people on the Chesapeake, and then the people in the Carolinas, and then the people in Oklahoma. Like it is insane, the difference in so what I consider the lifestyle, or what I consider the things that resonate, may not even register with somebody else that's living, 200 or 300 kilometers away. It's such a crazy, I think it's such a crazy thing to try and hammer down. But if I was to guess one constant, I would say nasty weather.
Yeah.
Like, you go regardless. Now, I know there's some fellas they're lucky enough that they, they're chasing birds all season long. So when it's a shitty day, they're like, yeah, I'm not going out in this. I'm going again tomorrow. So I don't need to go out and be miserable for 6 hours a day. But, when you're talking about that guy, that girl, whoever it is, when they work Monday to Friday and Saturday and Sunday is the only time they have to hunt, weather doesn't matter, whatever it is. If the birds are working, and you're out there. So, but and then at the same time, I overheard some of the things you said, like the durability of gear and the fact that we're just so hard on gear and such a gear reliance. I don't think there's another pursuit that's like it.
I think like most things you can get by on, like going pretty skimpy on gear. Like, yeah, you're not going out chasing birds with minimal gear. Like you can try and cut down a bunch and you're still going to have too much.
Yeah. Like, if you look at a turkey hunter, right? And which the season's opening up tomorrow here in Ontario. And we'll talk a little bit about that, because I know you're heading out. But you take a turkey hunter, he needs a strutting tom, maybe a hen and his slate call and he's good to go.
Yeah, it's like there's been plenty of times where I don't even use decoys. I've literally gone out, like I've already got a blind out there. I'm sitting against a tree, but I've got my gun, a box call, and probably a thermocell. Like that's it. Yeah. You're not going out chasing ducks with that minimal gear.
No, I don't think so. But then, on the other hand, you'll hear fellas say, I got a little hole. I take 6 decoys with me and I chuck them out and I sit down and I open up my thermos of coffee. And so I don't know, man. It's just, and I think if we had 20 people on this show right now, I think you'd probably get 15, 16 different answers on this question. I'm not going to say everybody would be different, but I think you'd get a lot of different answers.
But I agree with you too. Like when you said that, if there's kind of a common image, it's that shitty weather, right? Like you picture a waterfowl magazine. What's the first thing you think of? A guy with like sideways rain and he's hunched over with his gun over his shoulder or something.
That's right.
And I think if there was something that most waterfowls would portray as almost like a badge of honor. It would be that shitty weather, like, well, I'm out there and everything. Whether it's true or not, that's just kind of the image that people want to portray as a waterfowl hunter.
Well, I'll throw this out there, and I could be wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time, and it's not going to be the last time. But if somebody is out hunting, out duck hunting, and it's a beautiful day, and the sun is shining, and it's warm, people don't post pictures of themselves recovering decoys on beautiful days. But if it's snowing, sideways rain, miserable, people, well, that is a profile picture right there.
Yeah.
Every day. And I've done it. Like I used one. Me, Mark, and Ryan Bro did a hunt in Nova Scotia a bunch of years ago, and it was picture perfect. The snow, it wasn't a super cold day, but so it was like those big fluffy flakes, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't cold, but it was an amazing day, and it was just snowing and icing up, and I don't know. And I was like, oh yeah, this is a great picture. So yeah, the weather, I think, because how many times do you hear fellas say, oh, we need a cold front. We need that north wind.
Yeah, you're waiting for the shitty weather.
You're waiting for the shitty weather because that's what pushes the birds, right? I don't know, man. It's just...
And it's funny because I can't remember what it was. It's probably a couple of years ago now, but I was listening to a podcast or something, and the whole like duck hunting and shitty weather thing was a topic of discussion. And one thing that was brought up was that it was like, as a bit of a misnomer, is it really always been like that? Or was it, and you kind of touched on it back in the day, like, you know, somebody maybe got out on the weekends, or they only got out the odd time here and there. And usually it just so happens like, well, it's shitty out today. It's the one day I've got. I'm going out. So then it just kind of became synonymous with it. It's like, people were out in shitty weather because they had no other choice, because that was the one day they had. They couldn't wait and go out a different day. And, but I thought that was kind of an interesting take on it too, right? Did that play a role in it kind of becoming the image and
you know what?
The default image of it?
That's a really good point. So let's talk about, this is a rabbit hole. So let's talk about, you know, the invention of the gear, right? The clothing. So the decoys and the calls, that was always there, right? Because you had to make the decoys, get the birds, you always had to. But then when it comes to clothing, and if you think of the evolution of clothing for the hunter as a whole, not just duck hunters, but outdoors men and women as a whole, the evolution since so let's say 80 years has been insane, because you know, if you look back, and I don't know what it was like way back, but I'll say the 40s, when everybody came home from the Second World War, right? So everybody came home from the Second World War. They all had canvas, and they were all wearing durable clothes and warm clothes because they had got it from their time in the military and serving. And so they brought that back to Canada and brought it back to the US. And then that became, and maybe this is a stretch for me to say this, but did that then become the norm? Well, listen, I'm working Monday to Friday, because that was a very, very important time in North America when the war was over and everybody came back. Industry, you know, blew up, jobs everywhere, you know, manufacturing. That's when, you know, made in America and America Steel, and Canada was doing their thing, and we were pumping stuff out. To the fellas that love duck hunting, you had Saturday and probably not Sunday, because most people back then were going to church. So you probably had Saturday. So regardless of what the weather was, you were going. If you were, and
you know how the weather acts when you've got one day off. You know, you can almost guarantee it's going to be shit weather.
So was that the birth of is that when someone said, oh, we gotta, maybe it wasn't this aha moment, but was this the point when someone says, I think I can capitalize on this. I think I can make a business out of clothing just for these men, because let's face it, back then it was mostly men. Can I make a business out of fitting dudes with clothing so that they are comfortable in the duck blind? And I don't know, maybe this is something that a million other people have thought about. I've just never heard of it. So you heard it here first from us. But was that the beginning of when fellows were like, hey, listen, wax canvas, let's use wax canvas? Because to me, that is, you know, my real first thoughts of duck hunters were sea duck hunters, right? It wasn't Louisiana. It wasn't the swamps. It was the North Atlantic, cold, miserable.
Just miserable as could be.
Right. And so that wax canvas jacket that just repelled water, it was heavy as hell. But that to me is what screams a duck hunter. But that's me. And that's what I'm saying when it comes to geographical. It could be different because in Louisiana, they don't view it that way. Or Arkansas or wherever, right? Like it's just, I don't know, man. It's just.
And I think a lot of people, it's like if you're asking them that question, I think it's going to be more of a nostalgic answer. Like they're going to automatically, whether like I've never used wax canvas, but you've got that image in your head, or like punt boats and stuff like that, right? Or like those old, what do you call it, like the sink boxes and stuff like that. Like, I think a lot of people would answer that, whether or not they've ever seen those in real life, but it's like people have that impression, that image of those sorts of things.
Because I do think that, like if you were never ever a duck hunter, let's say you've never ever hunted in your life, and you're sitting at the doctor's office and there's a magazine on the table and you're just trying to kill time, and it's a fucking hook and barrel or a Delta Waterfowl, Ducks Unlimited, whatever magazine it is that's on the doctor's desk, and you pick that up and you start flicking through it and you read the articles and stuff. And there's sort of this, I don't want to say this romantic thing, but when you read it, it's like it's a story, and you're like, man, I want to do that. I want to be out there when it's cold and miserable. And I want to make a duck turn when I come on to the call, or, you know what I mean? Like there's this allure to it that I think regardless of where you are, and maybe the pirogues and the punt boats and, Louisiana swamps, maybe that's not in your geographical area. But that may have been what sold you on. I think I want to give this duck hunting a try, because like, think of Canadians. We don't have, well, I shouldn't say Canadians. Where we are in Ontario, like we're good for geese, for Canada's, but we don't have a huge duck population. We don't have a huge duck flyway.
Yeah, it's like you're not getting videos here that you're seeing online from a lot of other places.
That's right. So what was it that got, people in our area all horny about shooting ducks? It had to have been a video that they watched or an article that they read, because it wasn't from the crazy numbers of birds that we see here. We see geese, and we view geese now sort of as a nuisance animal, really, more than anything. And now, again, I'll preface that by saying there's somebody probably fucking seething as I'm saying that, but yeah, like, whatever that picture is for you of what a waterfowl hunter is, that's yours, and that's what sold you on doing this. I don't know, man. I just think it's just a wild topic to go down, and I think so many people would have so many different answers.
Yeah, it's a conversation you could just keep having, like not I wouldn't even say over and over, but like it would be an ongoing conversation. It's like there'd just be there's no answer, there's no end to that conversation, really. I don't think.
And that's what I mean. I don't think there's an answer. So, like, if you're a brand that's trying, so say Punisher Waterfowl, if you're a brand and you're trying to say what encapsulates waterfowl hunters, and because you're trying to come up with a product to sell,
you're coming up with the next best thing, and you want to bring the next best thing to the waterfowl industry, and you're talking about the lifestyle. What is it? Because what it is for me, it may not be for you, and it may not be for 40% of the population, because I think it's very geographical. The more I think about it, I think it's very geographical, even though it may have been the swamps and the flooded timber of Arkansas that made you fall in love with it. But if you're living in North Dakota or Alberta, then looks a little different.
looks a lot different. I don't know, man. I just, these are the things that I really like. And I love the fact that, and we talked about it a little bit before we hit the record button, right? I said, I wanted to talk about, what was the point? I said, I think it was sort of kind of along the lines of the waterfowl lifestyle, where I said, you got your diehards, and then you got, your weekend warriors, I'll use for a term, right? And that's not a slag against the weekend warriors. That's just hey, listen, you work Monday to Friday, you work 40 hours a week or more. Saturday, Sunday is the days that you get to hunt. But you had said the word poser, and I know you didn't mean it in a negative way when you said poser, when you're talking about the fellas that aren't doing it all day, every day. And I know you didn't mean it in a bad way, but here's one for us to go down. So with social media being social media, and everybody uses it to sort of kind of pump their own tires and look at me, I'm the next best thing since sliced bread. You got a bunch of people now that are very lucky in life that they can do this pursuit from September until, I don't know when the last of it closes down in the States, but I would say it's probably somewhere around March and April down in the southern states that it runs, and maybe it's even later. I don't know. And there's people that, they'll follow migration. They'll start out in Saskatchewan and they'll follow the birds all the way down until they get down to Louisiana, Arkansas, whatever. Those people are extremely blessed and they are extremely lucky. But does it make you, are you a hardcore waterfowler? Are you any more hardcore of a waterfowler because you do it 5-6 days a week, as opposed to the guy that does it once or twice a week? Because I don't think you're any more hardcore personally.
It's, if anything, it's probably just a set of circumstances, right? It doesn't mean that guy wants it anymore than the guy who's only going out a couple times a year.
Absolutely.
It could just be a matter of circumstance. Like, somebody's got the money, somebody doesn't. Somebody's got a job that allows them to get out, somebody doesn't.
Absolutely. And you're a bit different, because your wife, Carrie, she will hunt too, right? So you're lucky where your wife will do it with you. And then, you've got your two boys who are growing into fine young men and stuff. Cam is Cam. Caleb is getting up there, and you know what I mean? And so the hunting side of things, so you're a little bit different. I'm a lot different in the fact that my wife doesn't hunt and wants nothing to do with hunting, and my kids are growing up, so I don't need to be taking them and watching them and stuff. And 9 times out of 10, my wife wants me out of the house anyways, because I'm only making a mess and screwing things up for her anyways.
Always standing in front of the cupboard she needs to be in.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then you have some fellas that are just absolute diehards that, it's just mallards in their brains all the time, but they have a young family. They're working 12-hour days, shift work maybe. I don't think that because they only get out once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever it is that their schedule dictates, I don't think they're any less hardcore. And I want to say the majority of people listening to this would agree with what I'm saying, but at the same time, if you're on social media, and listen, I'm not ragging on you if you're on social media, but if you're on social media talking about all the hunts, I don't think that de facto makes you a hardcore duck hunter.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Because that's where it's again, it's like, what's the validity to that, right? Like, you could be on there making a whole lot of noise, but is there any substance behind it? And there may be, there may not be, but and everybody's got their different motivations too.
Yeah. 100%. Everybody's got their different motivations. And listen, I'm not one of these guys that's going to come on and talk about how social media ruined it, because I rely on social media for everything with regards to this brand. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, well, social media fucked everything up, because no, I think social media made it even more accessible to a lot of people that probably didn't even know about it, or know the ease and the fun and the life, not the lifestyle, but the pursuit, the chase. But at the same time, I think within, and this is a slippery slope to make this comment, there's a bunch of people that's pretending to be something that they're not. And I think that's what and we can probably discuss this at another time, but I think that's part of the problem, is that people are trying to be something that they're not, when in fact, if they just acted themselves and stayed true to their personality, I think you would be more successful than pretending to be something. Because like you said, and Craig, you're really good at this, and someone that I rely on a lot, that I'll say to you, hey, I'm going to say this, or I'm going to put this out as a post. Does this make me look like a douchebag? And I'll ask you, because you see those things, right? You can pick those things out. Like you are really good when somebody does something, says something, and you're like, yeah, you can tell that's forced, or that's an alternative motive. Is that a word? Wait, hold on. Is that a word? Ulterior?
I think it's ulterior motive.
Ulterior? Anyways, someone smarter than us figured it. But that's what I mean, right? Like, so I think if most people are true to themselves and putting out, their true personality, I think you'll be more successful than if you're trying to pretend and get the likes, unless you're just a professional. And I'm not a professional. I can't make myself look like I know everything, or that I'm a great shot, or I'm this great hunter. There's not enough AI programs in the world to make that happen. So, but I'm sure some people can. Anyways.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. And I don't know if it was when we were just talking before we recorded, or if it was when we tried to record the first time and it all went to shit. But we were talking about that, where it's, again, that guy that's out 5-6 days a week versus the guy who gets out here and there. It's like that guy that gets out once in a while could also be a more successful guy, right? Because he's got to fine tune things. Because it's like, hey, I'm getting out once or twice over the next few weeks. I don't want to completely waste my time, and not that like going out and not filling a limit is a waste or anything like that. But like, people want to make the best use of their time. So that guy going out, or that girl going out once or twice, may just be that much better than the other person who's out all the time, and it's just a sheer numbers game, right? Like and again, their motives are different, their skills are different, so it's like there's no scale that you can measure on for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think in a world where we're looking for gratification from the public, we need to be somewhat okay with what we can do and what we cannot do. That may not make much sense.
Yeah, it's okay to just be okay at something.
Yeah, it's okay to be just okay. Yeah, 100. That's a great statement.
Hashtag that.
Yeah, hashtag that. No, it's okay to be just okay. Like, you don't have to be a goddamn expert at everything.
Oh, to just still take joy in it.
Yeah, especially if it's something that you just enjoy. And I think that's where, and again, I'm not painting everybody with the same brush, but I think the weekend guy, the guy that gets out once, twice a week, and I'm not painting everybody, because I'm sure there's some really great hunters that are doing it all day, all week long. But I think the weekend guy, that's the guy that's just content with, I got out, I got my 4 birds, I'm happy. I'm not going to do a big pile pick. I'm not going to, I got out, I got my 4 birds, or I got my 1 bird, whatever it is. I think the average dude or dudette, I think they are the ones that are probably true to themselves.
Well, it's like when we had the Viking on, he was talking about his buddy who couldn't shoot worth a shit.
Yeah.
And he got mad at his buddy. It's like, why are you even coming out here if you can't hit anything? And the guy's like, I'm enjoying myself just the same as you are.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
yeah, absolutely.
He was missing, but still having a good time. And I think any of that kind of level of realism is what I enjoy. Like, whether it's just in the way I present myself or the way I see other people. Because for me, I find that shit funny. Like, I like it. It's relatable. So it's like one thing that I thought about was
triple threat, right? Like, look at the triple threat.
Yeah,
like,
the whole idea, right?
The whole idea, where that nickname came from.
But like when we were at Wild for Hope, because last year I got 1 turkey last year, and it was the first time I had the shot cam on my turkey gun. So it was a great shot and should have been some good footage. rookie move. I had the barrel of the gun was outside of the blind, but the shot cam was below the window. So like the only part you saw was when the gun kicked up a little bit of recoil, and you could see the one wing moving. But when you're at Wild for Hope, Brian Rushton was making fun of me for that. He's like, "Oh, it's like turkey season's coming up. Make sure you get that shot cam up this time, right?" But I posted that on Instagram because it's like, and I made some probably did some stupid hashtags about it or whatever. But yeah, it's like I like that shit, and I think more and more people are enjoying that. And we've talked about it a bunch of times. Like, I just think there's more of that out there, like just the be real kind of stuff, and the just all the stuff in between, and like because even I've hashtagged a bunch of times where I've gotten like one or two birds, like hashtag one bird pile or something like that, right? Like, like that's the reality of it.
And for our group, and that goes beyond, the people that are on this podcast with us, but our group of friends, which is quite large, really, I think that fits with our group that we're serious, but we're not that serious that we can't make fun of one another or make fun of ourselves, right? I don't know. There's been a lot of laughs where I've been the butt of the jokes. You, Segulik, Philly, we've all made fun of one another because of something that we've done. And I don't know.
There's certain people, like, you just don't want to open the door around them because it's like Steve Horst, like, man, that guy is so quick. It's like, you can't keep up with what he's going to say. And it's like, you can't, I don't know. I could never be as funny as that guy and just as quick as he is. And it's just so casual too, right? So it's like, it's like you got to be careful because you can't open any doors around guys like that, right?
Dude, when he was at the Toronto Sportsman Show and he was come up at noon and cook like Steve's meat, dude, there was things he was saying, and my son was there, Cade, right? Cade absolutely loves Steve Horse. Right? Loves him because Steve talks to Cade and treats him like a man and the whole bit, right? And shit that Steve was saying, like, Cade is in stitches. He's like, I can't believe he just said that, and I'm like,
and it's just so calm, and it's just so good. Like, it just sneaks up on you.
He just said that. It's hilarious. It's amazing, dude. I had a bunch of stuff written down that I wanted to talk about, and we never even touched it. So I'm going to save a couple of them for the next episode, because I think we'll do this again with just us and not a guest for the next episode. And I'm going to save some of that. But before we go, and I hope people are still listening, tomorrow being the 25th of April is turkey opener. I am not taking part in opener, and I probably won't take part in the first week, but you are primed and ready, right? You're good to go. You're hitting the field. Who's going with you tomorrow? Are both boys going, or just
Caleb?
Caleb.
Yeah, this is Caleb because Caleb got fully licensed last fall, so this is his first turkey season.
Yeah.
I've had the truck loaded since I think it was last Sunday or Monday, like of the long weekend. I just like pulled out all the blinds, just all the backpacks, everything was in the back of the truck. So Cam and I went out the other day and I posted, like, we went out to check the one farm because I knew they had big pine trees and there's probably a bunch of brush down.
Yeah, so your blind looks good.
Yeah, so Cam and I cleaned up a bunch of that and he helped me make that natural blind. And then I went and found the camera that I had left out there since last November that I forgot about. Had a bunch of pictures of moose and deer and that on there. And then so I took both boys up last night to that farm again to set up a couple blinds, and then another property across the road. So we got 2 blinds set up there, 1 across the road. So we've got lots of options. And there's one other guy that has permission to that farm too. So I've already been texting with him. He's going to a different spot where he's seen some birds. And so yeah, Caleb and I are going to be up there. He gets to skip school. I'm taking the day off work. And it's like I've been out scouting a lot. Birds have really slowed down this past week. And that farm, there's always birds there, but you can't really scout it. Like, you can't, like, from the road, you can't see anything.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like a little cattle pasture hidden behind some trees and a big rock and that. So you can't really scout it, but I know they come through all the time. Right. So we're kind of just going in blind, but that's like that particular spot. Like, that's where I've gotten most of my birds. If nothing else, we'll hear something in the morning. We'll be out there. I think legal time's like 5:38 in the morning, and it's 10 minutes from the house. Perfect. Quick, easy walk in. There's no chance of anybody else being there. So yeah, it'll be a quick, easy morning. Probably look cool. Get the buddy heater for Caleb. Set up in one of the blinds. Bring snacks, hot chocolate, and
there you go.
Let him nap.
I got to add, and I'm lucky enough with my friends that I've gotten to know their kids, and I've gotten to watch the kids grow up around me. And even though I don't get to see them all the time, but I get to watch it. And for anybody that's listening, because I like to say this, because I was once I had toddlers and babies when I was hunting, and I couldn't go hunt as much as I wanted, and because I had to stay home and help with the babies and stuff like this. And people are, I've got friends that are like, oh, I can't go hunt. I got to look after the kids. I got to, the baby and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it's all good. Don't worry. Your time will come. And I've been lucky enough to watch all my friends and watch their kids grow up. And now I look at Caleb and it's somewhat, I don't know, it almost seems surreal that he's at the age now that he can go hunt. Yeah. And just when I seen him in Merch in Toronto, but I didn't really get a chance to hang out or chat with him that much. But during breakfast a couple weeks ago, when we were at Wald for Hope, and just seeing the way he carries himself now, I'm just like, when the fuck did this kid grow up?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was pretty quick change for him too. Like his voice changed over a week, and he just started looking older.
Young man.
Yeah.
And it's wild. And I look at it. I know Kiri seen Cade, and she was like, oh my God, we were at Niagara Falls, and we were at the water park. And when he was like, Cade was probably 6 or 7 years old at the time. And now I look at Cam, and what is, I fucking think the world of Cam.
He's something else.
He cracks me up, man. He just fucking cracks me up. He's like the wild child. And then I just look at Caleb, and we were sitting at breakfast here a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, when did this kid grow up into the young man that he is? And it's wild, man. So I guess the thing that I'm trying to get here is that for everybody that's listening and you have kids and stuff, and you're, subconsciously wishing that they would grow up a bit faster so you're not stuck to the house. My dad used to say, don't wish your time away, because it'll happen before you know it. And now I get to watch my friends' kids grow up, and I'm like, Jesus, that happened quick. So the
one good thing with social media is like just all the memories that show up now.
Yeah.
It's like, because even this morning I saw, like, it was like 8 years ago today was actually, because I didn't know how long I've been hunting this property. And apparently it was 8 years ago today, because I had Cam out setting up blinds at that property for the first time 8 years ago.
Jesus, how old was Cam then?
He was in a backpack. Like, I was still...
Really? He was
I would have been off on parental leave at that time, because Carrie and I split the leave with both kids.
Okay.
So he would have still, like, he was just tiny. I had him in the backpack carrier, which it was like one of those mountain equipment co-op ones with the kickstand. So I had him like sitting there in the cattle pasture, propped up while he was passed out, as I'm cutting down hawthorn branches and setting up blinds. So that was 8 years ago, and that I've been hunting that. And he was like, he's only like 8 and a bit now. He turned 8 last January, last July. So
that's what he is right now.
Oh yeah,
he's an 8-year-old hippie.
It's funny because he runs around the rink now that Caleb's playing ball hockey. Cam looks like the hockey kid. He's got his hat on with his hair all sticking out. Kid wouldn't play hockey if you paid him.
Hey,
talk about a poser.
Talk about a poser. Awesome. Last points to you, my man.
I'm just looking forward to talking to you next time, and hopefully we'll have a story about Caleb getting a bird, or at least interacting with one.
Oh, buddy, I can't. I hope there's video. Tell him he's a calm kid. I think he'll be calmer than what you will, because I think you'll be so anxious. I think you'll be so anxious for him to get his bird. I think he'll be calmer than you. But try to catch it on video, because I want to see it so bad, and I want to see his face and how excited he is. I'll live vicariously through you when it comes to that. A great show, buddy. Like I said, I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about that we didn't, but that's good. We can talk about it next week. Good luck tomorrow. Be safe. I'll be talking to you tomorrow anyways, but be safe. Send pictures as soon as you can, and tell Cam to keep those, or not Cam, tell Caleb to keep his hands warm, because when it's time, it's time. All right, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Union 0430 podcast. We are not experts. We'll never pretend to be experts. Surround yourself with good people, and good things will happen. Until next time, big love.